It's a very good afternoon, and welcome to the Joe Mars podcast right here on the Joe Mars platforms, whichever platform you use to or you choose to use. You are getting us loud and clear right here on the Joe Mars podcast. And on this particular moment, we are coming live to you on YouTube and, of course, all the other platforms we are trying so hard to get into. I mean, it's not easy. Everyone gives you something for free for a few days, and then after that they're like, pay for it. You ain't getting nothing for free. So they entice you, but yes, we do what we have to do. It's not Dylan's repo. And that's what we love the most about this wonderful world of the online media. You can hop from one platform to the other until things are steady and you're going on at a steady rhythm. I'm glad we have this show. To be quite honest, I really am. And I'm really glad there is this show, the Joe Mars podcast. For the longest, I've always wanted to do this because we basically do whatever we want. It's unscripted, it's unradio like. The emphasis has always been connect with vibrant, young, and hungry, and at times very angry Zimbabweans too, um, who are pushing the boundaries of what our country has become and what it is known for. It's been interesting, and I must say that for many who have chosen to be with me on this journey, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I definitely do. Today on the show, I have a brilliant young man based in South Africa, originally from Zimbabwe. His real name is Learnmore Mwanyenyeka. That was long, and he had to find a way of just making sure that name doesn't. I mean, we get a very sexual and very intimate, and should I say, very easy name. Okay, so his name is Learnmore Mwanyenyeka. Um, Known professionally as Long John, the comedian. Zimbabwean stand up comedian, actor, and MC, also known by the name The Village Boy. You know, and you will see the reason why he's called The Village Boy in a very short time. He won the 2019 National Arts Merit Awards as the Outstanding Comedian of the Year, the 2019 Savannah Comic Choice Awards as the Pan African Comic of the Year. He was People's Choice Award winner in the Steve Harvey Stand Up Spotlight competition in 2019. In 2020, he won the National Arts Merit Awards for the Outstanding Comedian of the Year. And 2021, he's still working on a lot of stuff, and we see him doing jokes online all the times. And so I decided to sit with him and find out more about Mr. Jokes and what's in store for 2021. Welcome, Long John, the comedian.
Hello.
What's up, man?
I'm good, and you?
Great, Baba.
Yeah, I can't believe you said I chose a sexual name. What's wrong with you? A guy can, supposed to say stuff like that. Another guy.
Dude, how do you say to people, you know what, I do comedy and my name is Learnmore Mwanyenyeka. They will be like,
exactly. That was the idea. And I was like, I need a name that is easy to remember, that you will never forget. That's why Long John was born.
Exactly, Long John. But without taking away anything from your height, I mean, you are long. So
well, yeah, obviously. I had to choose a name, with my height in there.
Why didn't you stick with The Village Boy?
No, the Village Boy is actually a special. It's a comedy special called The Village Boy. You see, it's about me coming from the village, Chimanimani, because I grew up in Chimanimani, right? So I talk about my village, how I grew up in Chimanimani and traveling, looking at things in a village boy perspective. So that's how that name came to be. So I started hosting shows called The Village Boy, and people start calling me The Village Boy, you see. But it's a special. Hopefully one day it's going to be on Netflix. That's the dream. You are muted.
Yes. I do that most of it. Listen,
technology.
I do that all the time. I'm trying to give you the opportunity to speak, but then when I'm coming in, I forget.
Oh yeah.
I'm old.
So yeah, that's why
I'm 39, dude. I'm 39. You
don't blame this on age. You see, that's the problem with people. They blame Like, I don't know how to do this because I'm old. You don't know. That's it. There's nothing else.
Okay. Yeah, all right. I forgot. I know, but I forgot.
You know, but
So what's up, man? What's up? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm great, and you?
You're looking light and things are like
No,
changing in your
bleach.
life.
But when
Man.
I talk about bleach, this guy, bleach. I can afford bleach now. This guy, very simple.
It's that easy. It's
very easy. Very
Man,
easy.
I promised myself I wasn't gonna laugh at any of your jokes during this interview.
These are not even jokes. It's truth. What I talk about, this is the truth.
Wow, man! Thanks a lot for coming in and obviously.
No, thank you for this, man.
Time. You've been working hard. I see. You've been working.
I've been trying because you have to to get up in the morning saying, I have to do something. There has to be something that you have to do, during the day. So yeah, that's why I started doing sketches and stuff, just to keep myself, thinking, and because I write a lot. So as a comedian, you have to be on stage, or you need a platform to release. You see, so that's why I keep working.
Me and my wife were laughing to your comedy the other day. Like there was this skit that you did.
Which one?
Uneka softers kando.
That sketch. I was just shopping. I was doing that thing. Zimbabwe. Actually, Africans would do that. We don't look at the expiry date. We don't look. We just do this. It's this. That's how you know. I don't know why. It's not even once. It's twice. You have to do it twice. Like that's how you know. Like this is fresh. 1, 2, fresh. So I was doing that, and I was like, when I was thinking about this song, I was like, let me do that sketch. Let me actually do it. And then I just
dude, I'm telling you, you say we do it twice, I do it, I think 3 times. It's got to be like
3 times. Because you have to make sure. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
This is fresh. This is fresh.
This is the one. This is the right one. Oh man. Yeah, but I don't know if a lot of people get to tell you this, but you know what? Sometimes they say laughter is the best medicine. So sometimes you might be in that moment or in that period where you just want something. So you're scrolling through Twitter or Instagram, and then you watch this guy and you're like, man, he just.
I feel like whoever said laughter is the best medicine didn't know what they were talking about. Right now, there's corona. You can't go to the hospitals. You have corona. Just laugh. You'll be fine. Laugh. You recover. No. No one is laughing to recover.
Well, maybe we took it out of context. We don't know exactly the whole paragraph or whatever he's saying, and then we just took that as the quote.
Just took the whole. Exactly, and then I laughter is the best medicine. No, medicine is the best medicine.
You know how prophets these days just want to go to the Bible and pick one statement, like
just one. Yeah, you see,
just one.
Yeah.
You see. So, but otherwise, how's been? I mean, 2020. We know 2020 was really, really tough, man.
Yeah, although 2021 feels like season 2 of 2020. It feels the same. Feels the same, man. But at least now we have experience.
Yeah. How you been able to cope with that?
Pornhub. That's why.
John, come on, man.
No, I'm joking. It's X videos.
No. So I mean, you're not joking. You're not joking. I know you're not joking. You say music one time again. Like, hey. You must be a VIP member.
No, I mean, come on. Sometimes you have data and it's about to expire at the end of the month. You might as well. It's an economic decision. That's what I'm saying. You are muted again. You know what? I give up.
Dude, listen, you forgive me.
I give up.
I don't want to be laughing out so loud in this interview, and then
please. Laugh out loud. That's what
laugh out loud. It's the best medicine.
It's the best medicine.
So what's up, man? What's up for 2021? I mean, you say we're in season 2, but you gotta give us something. Give us something in 2021. What can we
so this is this is I haven't published this yet, but I just signed a deal with Comedy Central. Woo!
Woo!
Yeah,
Comedy
yeah,
Central, like the Comedy Central that we all watch
yeah,
our friends and we watch.
exactly. Yeah, the Comedy Central. Yeah, that's it.
Are you
I'm
for
going to be
real,
part
man?
of.
Are you for
Yeah,
real?
I'm going to be part of a lineup. It's called the Virtual Savannah Virtual Comedy Bar. I'll be joining, the season 2. I'm happy. I'm excited about that one. So at
Wow,
least,
man.
the year is starting on a good note.
On a very good note. On a very good note.
Yeah, man.
Wow, wow,
So
wow,
that's.
wow, wow. The village
So
boy,
I'm
Long
excited.
John the comedian,
You
the
see,
mfana from Dangamvura.
from Dagamvura, from Chimani Man in Dagamvura. That's where I grew up.
Yes. Let's talk about growing up, man. We're gonna celebrate this, obviously. I mean, this
Yeah.
is huge. This is huge. I'm telling you. When does it premiere? When does it start? Anyway?
So we actually we actually just started shooting and stuff like that. But it's we just let you know on the exact dates when this will premiere. But for now, just know that I'm going to be part of it.
Oh wow, brilliant,
Yeah.
man, brilliant! We can't wait. We can't wait to
Yeah,
actually
it's
see
going to
you
be
on Comedy
amazing.
Central. Chantan's going to go on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
At least now,
At least now our
you see,
subscriptions
yeah.
on DSTV can be worth it. I mean, you tune into something
You
and you're
see,
like, okay, after
I
the
can
Big
watch
Bang
that.
Theory, there is Long John. You see,
That's true.
But that's
That
cool.
is true.
Let's talk about you, man. I mean, you've done so much and you've done so well in your career right now. I mean, working with big names. We're gonna get to that, but I wanted to start off from the growing up part of Long John.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a Wikipedia full of information about you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going places, but I'm telling you, you're going
I
places.
hope, man.
How many people have a Wikipedia that's full of stuff? Yeah, like you've got early life and education, you've got careers, you've got what?
You Googled me.
Yeah, well, we have to do that. That's what we spend
Google.
most of it. We need to Google.
Research.
Otherwise,
research.
Research.
Yeah.
Let's talk
so
about
what do you want to start? Where do you want to start?
Let's talk about you growing up, Baba. You were a young man, a young kid. You said in Dangamvura, right? Is it Chimani Mani?
No, it's Chimani Mani. It all started in Chimani Mani.
So it all started in Chimani Mani. What was the setup like for you in your life at that moment?
So, okay, first of all, I had an amazing childhood. I don't want to lie, man. My childhood was amazing. There was no PlayStations, there was no phones, like there were smartphones. What if you needed to play, you had to go outside. There was no Pornhub, man. You had to go outside and play. That was it, man. I used to love it because it's a village, you see. And there's so much, places to play. We used to go to the mountains. It was so amazing. It was an amazing childhood. I thank my grandfather for that. So there was a point in my life when we had to move from Chimani Mani to Mutare because my grandfather was retrenched from the company he was working, in. So we were staying at a company house. So we had to move to Mutare where we had our house, So that shift was different. Now from Chimani Mani where you have the big yard and way to play and stuff like that, and a lot of friends. Now I'm in the ghetto in Mutare. And I'll never forget, I got into my first fight in the ghetto in Tangamvura. I'll never forget this. And I'll never, because
did you win?
I used to watch I used to watch Chinese movies. I used to watch a lot of Chinese. So I used to think I know Kung Fu. Oh, so this guy was like, "Hey, fine, don't go wrong." And I was like, snake in the ego shadow. And the guy just came to me and he was like, footsack. And I ran. I was crying. I ran home. That was my first time.
That was your first beating. First beating by someone else other than your parents or your cousin. I know it wasn't a fight, John. You got your ass whipped.
So now I had part of my childhood in Thailand. From I remember from grade one, from grade two up to grade 7, I was in Mtare. And then after that, high school, I had to go back to Chimani, and now I was back in my village. But the first time I discovered comedy was when I was in Chimani, when I was very young. My ninis used to watch a lot of comedy. My grandparents used to watch comedy. Jim Carrey, we used to watch Family Matters, and that's when I fell in love with stand-up comedy, because I saw how it made my grandparents and the whole family feel, and I was like, I want to be able to do that. So from there, I started doing, dramas at school. I was known for that. I used to do jokes. I used to do it just to be funny, and it was always at the back of my head that when I finish high school or school, I have to pursue comedy. It was always that. And I told my grandparents, they actually, supported me, and they actually, gave me my first, bus fare to go to Harare to do comedy. You see,
Wow,
which is amazing.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
so they had they had the chance to see you grow from just being a funny little man into, you know what? I think this boy can actually make it in comedy. So here's
not
Busway.
not
Now go.
really, not really. You have to understand. I wasn't good in school. I was bad. Like, I used to copy everything, even the date. I used to copy the date. So my grandparents are like, he must be good at something. There must be something he's good
That
at.
he must be good at. Yeah,
Yeah. They're like, maybe it's comedy. Let's try. You see, and then
yeah.
boom, it was comedy.
And Zimbabwean parents have that thing that, like, they monitor each and everything. If you say you play soccer, maybe they'll come once or twice and to see if you are really
See
good
if
at
you're
it.
really good at it. Yeah, that's the thing.
And then when they can't find anything, they'll be like, but he's got to be good at, maybe then one day you just
You
wait
gotta
and be
be.
like, you gotta be good at something.
Gotta
And
be
that's
good
what
at.
I
Yeah,
love.
that's the
That's
thing.
what I love. That's what I love about our
Exactly.
parents, man. They give us
Yeah.
they used to give us a lot of grief in terms of be good in education. I mean, there are guys who were good in education and they went far.
Yep.
But
They went, but
I
changes, eh?
remember exactly. I remember
I
when
actually have a
one day,
special. I actually
is
have
it?
a new special, because I have a new special that I was working on, before COVID. It was called Happily Uneducated. Long John Happily Uneducated. I
Wow.
talk about education and the misconception on you need education to make it in life,
Mm,
and how
mm.
education used to evolve. It used to be, it's still the same thing, especially in my country, Zimbabwe. It always made me feel like I was dumb. Like, to be in school, I used to go, because they used to, as soon as you go to grade one, they separate you depending on how good you are. Like, there's grade one A, grade one B, grade one, and then in that classroom there's group one, group two, group three, up to group 4. Now just
Exactly.
imagine if you're a kid and you're grade one B, group 6. Who do you copy? Who do you copy in this group? I mean, come on. So it was, you've lost hope, then. You've
Yeah,
already lost hope. So I have a show where I talk about it, like that. Initially, I wanted to take this show to do a TED talk with it. But everything's got stopped and everything. But hopefully, when things go back to normal, I'll take it back.
I feel you.
This guy. And now I'm gonna mute myself also.
Hey, don't you dare. Listen, I feel you so much when it comes to, I had the very same experience when I went to my high school, because primary school I didn't have the problems that you had. I mean, obviously you were on another level, John. But anyway,
I was on another level. You have no
so
idea.
I didn't have that problem. I mean, I was in flying colors, and stuff like that. When I went to high school, they have this thing, write a test so that we see which class you're gonna get into.
Oh yeah.
And then you write it, and then they're like, okay. And then
Because
obviously later after that, yeah, and then later after that, they're like, okay, your results are out now. So the test is for you to get admission, right? Or to get admission, right? And then after that, it's like, how did you fare in your grade 7s? and then you put
Mm.
they put you in a class. So I was doing well. I was in the first class in grade 7. You know, they used to have colors. I don't know if colors
Yeah. Oh yeah.
represent
No, no,
how
I've
someone
heard.
is.
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
in 7 pink, and then now 7 pink, you're getting into form 1, and then you didn't do so brilliantly in grade 7. Then there were 4 classes in my form 1. So that was A,
Wow.
B, C, D. I was in D.
Ah!
And then and that it ruined me. I don't want to
it,
I
it
want to be
does.
honest. It
It
does.
does. It ruins you
It,
because you become who you hang out with. So no matter how good you are, you're gonna become exactly like Dave here. Dave is a thief. Can is he doesn't bath. Now you don't want bath. You don't want to bath because that's what you see. That's it, man.
birds of the same feather flock together, and then they
Dave, you see,
something like
that's what
that.
I'm
But yeah, so I like the part where you talk about your childhood and you're not afraid of talking about it. I mean, is that
oh yeah,
like
you should.
is
Yeah.
that like the the prerequisite of being a comedian? Because we all have, we have what's this guy, one Steve Harvey talks about his life, he's growing up, he talks
Yeah.
about being dumb. He says, I was
Oh,
dumb, man.
dude. Yeah,
I
definitely.
And then we talk about Trevor
Mhm.
Noah. He talks about growing up in apartheid. So is
Mm.
that like,
So,
can you ever be a comedian without really telling people the truth about yourself?
so there's a comedian and there's a comic. You see, a comic is just a guy who just just a guy who just says funny stuff, dresses up, doesn't have context, or depth. Yeah, doesn't have depth. But a comedian is someone who talks about things around him, who talks about things from his heart. For example, me, I talk about my village, I talk about my grandparents, talk about how I grew up, in Shimani, and now looking at the world, as a village boy. So a comedian, is a person who talks about things that people want to say but cannot say. So I'm
Oh.
kind of like a voice for everybody. You see, I can talk about politics, but in my own way. People will be like,
Mm.
what else? I want to say that.
Mm.
So that's the thing. That's a comedian. You see, and
Okay.
also when you talk about yourself, there's always someone who relates to you. You see, it's
Mm.
easier for you to relate to what I'm talking about. I talk about 2008 in Zimbabwe, how bad it was, and people relate to that. They know how bad it was in Zimbabwe in
Yeah.
2008. Even
Mm.
even if I'm in Uganda and I talk about how bad it was in 2008, they can relate.
Mm.
You see,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you see, so it's always good to talk about what you know. So
Mm.
things around you is exactly what you know.
I like that. I like that. And it's so easy, as you rightfully said. Like, it's easy when when people relate to you. That's all.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what you want, right? That's what you want,
that's
right?
what
When
you
you
want, man. And
Mm.
also it's people don't know this, but for comedians, it's therapy also. When I talk about things that are that come from the heart, I'm opening up. It's therapy, man.
Mm.
But it's so right now as comedians we don't have stage time, so we don't have an
Mm.
outlet. So depression is a
Mm.
real thing. You
It's
see,
real, Baba.
oh,
It's real.
it's real.
It's,
You
it's
see,
real.
yeah.
But it says on the information that's online that, you know what, you never met your dad. You
Yeah.
don't know his name. You grew up with your grandparents and stuff like
Mm,
that. When growing up, obviously as a kid, you grow up with kids that have dads that maybe
mm,
probably have a mother and maybe don't have a dad, or maybe one parent or two.
yeah.
How was that for you? Do you think maybe it could have played a role in some way or the other in affecting you at school or something?
Okay. I always say everything happens for a reason, and I mean it, because me being raised by my grandfather, I had to learn quite a lot of things from him. just to be with family, to always take care of family. My grandfather would take care of like a distant relative. And you bring him in his house, pay school fees, and just take care of them just like they are their own. So I've seen him doing that a lot of times, and I want to be able to do that, also. So
Okay.
I feel like me being raised by my grandfather has taught me quite a lot, and I wouldn't trade that for anything else. You see. So yeah, so even as a comedian that I am today, I talk about things that I've learned from my grandfather, even my principles as a man. You see, I want to be able to be in a relationship with one woman, not even 20. My grandfather he never married multiple women like his cousins. Oh, his cousins is multiple, like a football team. It's crazy. So yeah, but he was always faithful. He showed me how to be a man. So I'm grateful for that, and I am who I am today because of that. So if I was raised by my father, I don't know what I would have been. Maybe you never know. Maybe I would have mugged you one day, my man. You never know. So thank my grandfather. You never know.
Yeah. True that. So I mean it's almost it's all like it's a phenomenon that a lot of people really don't understand, like
Yeah.
growing up without this parent, or two of them or one of them, etc. There wasn't has there ever been a time in your life that maybe thought of him and said, okay, maybe
Oh
dude,
yeah,
now
definitely.
I'm yeah.
Definitely, man.
Mm,
Definitely. Oh, you've not. I still remember the first time I asked my grandfather, my grandmother, and
mm,
then she always does this thing where she goes like, if something is serious, she does this
mm.
thing where she goes like, Learnmore, come here, Mzukuru, sit here, sit here,
Eh.
and then oh my God, there's something serious. She's about to say something very serious here.
Exactly,
It's all,
exactly,
and then
exactly.
she told me everything, and then so as a kid, the day I decided to become a comedian, right, it was always about, I want him to see me. Oh, I want him to see me,
Mm.
and I want him to come back to me and say, I'm sorry, but so but
That,
so I use this as motivation to keep
mm,
going. You see, to
mm,
say,
mm.
I don't care. I'm just gonna go. No matter what, I'll keep going. When people say no to me, I'll turn it into a yes. You see,
Mm.
I'll just
Okay.
keep going. So that's the thing.
Yeah, I hear you.
Mm.
And you never know, hey? Maybe he's there. Maybe he will pitch up. Maybe he won't.
But yeah,
But it's a
but I
good thing.
already forgave. I already forgave. It's fine.
It's like it's done. The way
It's
I grew
done,
up,
man.
I'm fine with that.
It's amazing, man. I grew up. I had an amazing childhood, so I'm happy.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you. I wish,
Yeah.
I wish, I wish for a lot of people that go or that struggle with the understanding that life just gave me lemons. Let me make lemonade, eh?
Oh
Or
yeah,
yeah, that struggle
that's
with
true, man.
that whole thing, that struggle with understanding that.
Yeah,
I wish they could hear you right
yeah,
now and then just understand. You know what? Sometimes
that's
you
true.
have to just say, okay, that's it. It's not coming.
Yeah,
I don't have that,
yes,
and live with that. Do you understand?
yeah. Because if you sit down and cry about it, then what are you achieving?
Mm,
Nothing.
mm, nothing.
So
It's like
I actually talk about this in my comedy. So at least I have been paid by promoters to talk about this. Dude, I'm happy. I'm like, I'm getting paid for this.
in one way or the other, his existence or non-existence is making you live a better life.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You see,
Yeah.
you said when life gives you lemons. But
Yeah.
listen, you also need sugar to make lemonade. Whoever thought about this didn't even think about it through. Lemons
No,
and sugar. You
you
have
can
sugar.
you can have lemonade without sugar, Baba.
So no. So this is lemon. You are just having lemon. There's no, the D is off. Lemonade.
Okay, the
You're having
age.
lemonade.
The age is off.
Exactly.
All right.
That's
So,
true.
John, thanks a lot again. Once again, guys, if you're joining us, this is the Joe Mars podcast, and I'm chilling out with my man, Long John, the comedian, and this is At Home with Long John. We're doing this series of interviews and conversations with Zimbabweans that I think, personally, are breaking boundaries, and they're doing so well to uplift us as a nation. It's sad that as we sit here right now with John, the majority of his work has been in South Africa. Very, very
Yeah,
sad. It's a little
yeah.
bit sad. Yeah.
No, actually not. Actually, it's not.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's not actually. I started doing comedy in Zim. So the reason why I'm able to be different from every other comedian here in South Africa is because I started doing comedy in Zimbabwe, and I have that Zimbabwean comedian style. You know what I mean? And I've used it everywhere I go. Yeah, so every Zimbabwean comedian has a style. Like we have our own style of performance. I've noticed this. Even when you talk about, because when I started doing comedy, we're not supposed to talk about Mugabe, no politics or whatsoever, and no vulgar people, because people are sensitive, and stuff like that. So I was groomed in that way. So when the only way you could talk about politics is, you go behind, you kind of like, you talk about it, but you go, and people know that you're talking about it, but you're not really talking about, you know what I mean? So we have that thing as Zimbabwean comedians. It has actually, actually thank, Mugabe for that, because as Zimbabwean comedians, we have this thing, like it made us think outside the box, to talk about stuff like this.
You can't just go straight to talk about it. You say
you can't, just like Trevor Noah. No, you have to, and then people know. You see, exactly.
Okay.
So,
but okay, maybe my point came out, or my next question came out wrong. Like,
okay,
there's that lack of sustainability in Zimbabwe. Like, I mean, there's
definitely.
there's that lack of sustainability. I mean, we would have loved to keep our very own creatives in Zimbabwe and feed them and make sure that they survive through their creativity. But we can't.
But also, even if there was sustainability in Zimbabwe, I would have left, because I always dreamed of. Actually, my dream is not South Africa. This is I'm just passing by. You see.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm passing by. So I came from Chimanimani to Harare, but actually to Bulawayo.
Exactly.
In search of comedy. I just wanted to see live stand-up comedy. I wanted to be with comedians and actually learn. So I went to Bulawayo, and then I met Ntando Nkosi Moyo from Umashekisa Comedy Club. And then Ntando connected me with Simuka Comedy. So I had to travel from Bulawayo to Harare. You see, so now I'm in Harare. I met Simba the Comic King, Bukafe Comedy. Bukafe, Bukafe, right?
Yeah.
Bukafe? Yeah. So it was this artsy place. It was rowdy. It was tough. It was a tough audience. You see,
I grew up in Harare.
Yeah. So that was my first, performance, stand-up comedy audience. And it was a tough audience, man. You had to really, bring it. You see. So I remember going on stage and I got bored.
Very first time.
And I kept on coming back. Yeah, very first time. I kept on coming back. So, but in my mind, I knew where I wanted to be. Yes, I wanted to be able to make people laugh. But my dream was to be an African comedian with a global fan base. You get it? I never wanted to become just a Zimbabwean comedian, just a South African comedian. I wanted to become a global comedian. You see?
Yeah.
So that is why when you watch my material, I talk about me, my where I come from, my Africanness, but in a global way. You get it?
I get
So
it.
yeah, so I'm planning on traveling to Europe, Asia, and one day I'm gonna be, based for a little bit in the US, just to learn and see how they do it and stuff.
They
That's the
say
dream.
New York. They say New York is the hub pot, the boiling pot of comedy, and I
And it's
guess
tough, man.
tough.
And
It's not
also,
easy.
it's not easy, but also, my plan all this time was to build a portfolio for myself, so that when I finally go out there, at least I have something to show for. And then, crazy enough, Steve Harvey happened, the Pan African Comedian of the Year happened, and a bunch of other awards happened. And now I have a lot. If it wasn't for COVID-19, I was supposed to be in USA opening for Steve Harvey right now.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
The
It was
big
gonna be
dog.
crazy. The big dog. It was
The
gonna be
big
crazy,
dog.
man.
Who
So
doesn't
yeah,
love
man.
Steve Harvey? Oh man.
I like Steve Harvey is amazing.
I remember the first time the first time I met you, I was like, dude, I am so jealous of you. I mean,
What do you fit?
I mean, Steve is like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
He looked he
he
looked at me and
stands
he was
there,
like,
he stands
you,
there, and
Steve
you're
Harvey
like,
looked at me.
that's it for me. That's it for me.
Steve Harvey looked at me and was like, man, you're funny, man. You're funny. I watched your stuff. You're a funny cat. And I was like, Steven! I call him Steven. That's how he rolls. Steven!
Steve, no my first
Yeah,
name.
Steven. That's how we roll. That's how we roll.
Like, you're a funny cat. You're a funny cat. But
You're a
anyway,
funny
we'll get to
cat,
that.
man.
We want to
Yeah.
get to that quickly. After Simuka comedy, you say you got booed a couple of times on stage and stuff like
A
that.
lot for
A
years,
lot.
man. For like 2 years or so. Yeah.
Is it? And
Oh yeah, man.
how were you surviving in that? I mean, you didn't have. Did you have parents? Did you form?
So I had, lucky enough, what I was telling you about, my grandfather takes care of distant relatives. So
Yeah.
I was lucky enough. One of the, people that took care of was in Harare,
Oh,
and his family, his mother, his relatives were actually staying in Harare. You see, so I approached them. I was like, hey, I need a place to stay for like just a week. Initially, it was just a week, right? And then I went there. They're good people. They were just welcoming. And then I did my gig. I performed. And I remember asking myself, no, man, is this the comedy that I can't just be bored and quit. I can't just quit. I need to make these people, because I'm just like that. I love challenges. And I was like, nah, I will make these people laugh. Right.
Yeah.
And then I went back to the cousin of mine. I was like, listen, I want to achieve this thing. Can I stay a bit longer so that I'm able to learn? And he's like, yes, definitely. Actually, we need someone to, and they're like, actually, we need someone to take care of the place, because we're gonna be out, sometimes with work, So I was always alone at the place, and I had a place to stay. So every week I was going to book a fair. Every single week I was there. I was a regular, learning, meeting comedians. Sometimes comedians will be like, nah, I'm fine. I go, but I was like, I know where I want to be. I'm gonna keep coming back here. See,
don't you?
That's what
I think those are some of those realizations in life, when eventually things start working out for you in some way or the other because of what you did back. They call it karma, right?
Yeah, it's karma. Yeah, that's true.
So your grandfather, I mean, I'm sure there was a time when you thought about him and you said, this dude has got to be the most brilliant man I've ever been. Ever going to be raised with. Because whatever he did back then, which could have felt like, these guys are coming in here and eating a lot of food. I don't have this freedom that I have now because grandpa is taking in everybody. At that moment, you felt like he is like your God in one way.
No, even till today, man, I have a lot to learn from him. The thing is, the tragedy with our generation and and the generation after us is we don't really take time to learn from our elders, man. There's a lot of wisdom and things that you can learn from them. It's so crazy, man. I had to sit down with my grandparents and learn from them stories, even traditional medicine, man. It's crazy. They know so much. I remember my grandfather one day, he was chewing this stem, and I was like, "What are you eating?" Like, no, John, listen, mzukuru, urikuona mudzuyu, mudzuyu kautsenga ka, with your wife, one night, mzukuru, you'll be there, one night. I'll never
And you're
forget
not
that.
even married.
I'm like, now I know. I'm like, I'm gonna plant this at my house. So I'll be chewing every day. Honey, come. See?
Please give me some, man. Give me some.
No, I'll be selling. I don't just give for free money. I have to.
No,
But that's
man.
the thing,
Listen,
man.
your story is one, amazing, and two, it's a story filled with a lot of emotions. Like, I mean, this is something that you most probably don't expect from a child who's not doing so well in school, a child whose
Oh, yeah,
father
man.
was not there for him, child growing up in Chimani Mani. All the bad, like, if it's a book, ne, and it starts with you in Chimani Mani, everybody will be like, what the hell am I reading?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
but if it starts right now and the achievements that you've made, and then you start going back, people will be like, wow, I
Wow.
did
Yeah.
I didn't for a moment, I could not even comprehend that somebody coming from such a background will go and become something extraordinary
That's the
like
thing,
this.
man. That's
Yeah.
true.
So you
And
went
that's the
on.
dream. I've always wanted to inspire,
Mm.
a generation. That's my dream. Mhm.
So you went with the Village Boy act for quite some time until it took you to South Africa. Is that what happened?
No, not really.
Mm.
When I finally performed, when I finally made the decision to go to South Africa, it was after when I said, okay, I think because I've just made everybody laugh in Zimbabwe, not everybody, but all the audience I was performing in, I felt like, okay, I feel like this is it. I've learned what I can here in Zimbabwe. I need the next thing. I need to learn, the next thing. So now I was like, let me look at South Africa, because South Africans have this global, their comedy is more global. Most of them, Loiso
Yeah.
Gola, Trevor Noah, it's more global. And I wanted to learn that. I was like, obviously, when I travel from Zimbabwe to America straightforward, my comedy is not there yet. Even the industry itself, it's not there yet. But South African industry is an old industry. It's matured enough that it produces international comedians. South Africa was the best place to go. And then I was doing back and forth. If I get paid a little bit in Zimbabwe, back then it was US dollar, I'll travel to South Africa, I'll stay with my relatives, I'll perform, I'll do some gigs in Johannesburg, go back, make some more money, come back, do some gigs, until I was like, nah, I need to be best here. You see? And then I was best here.
You were like
That's what
you were
happened.
like you were like, it's a no-brainer. I've got to be in the place um where I'll most probably expose myself to that dream of yours of most probably ending up in
Exactly.
you. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but right now, I'm at a stage where I'm saying I have learned what I can in South Africa. I need the next thing. You see, I need that next thing. Yes, I am exactly where I wanted to be. This is it. I need to go further. America was the best place to go, and everything is pointing me there. Everything is going like, I go there, go to America, there. You see, so that's it. That's
There's
my next.
there's something pointing straight towards America.
Everything,
Everything.
everything is pointing. Like it all started with this Steve Harvey thing. I was like, okay, maybe. And then in lockdown, I won an award for best stand-up comedy from Atlanta. Imagine.
From Atlanta.
Yeah, it's called All the Laughs Comedy, Awards. It's crazy,
Wow.
man.
Wow.
Like last
Wow.
year, when everybody was in lockdown, I was busy, doing, lockdown shows and stuff like that, and I submitted my stuff, and I got nominated in 3 categories: best sketch comedy, best animated comedy, and best stand-up comedy. And I won the best stand-up comedy one.
Wow. Wow.
So
Wow.
everything is going like America.
It's
Go to
going
America.
there.
Go
It's
there.
going there. You're gonna go there, man. You're gonna go there. I'm
That's the thing.
telling you. And I'll be the very first person, Zimbabwean, who's gonna be, hey John, hey, Baba. I am sharing it 200
You see?
rand or something.
Obvious. Obvious. I know that. I know my Zimbabwean brothers.
So, hey, dude, your very first opening was with this man, Barry Hilton.
What is that? Oh my guy, Barry Hilton. I love Barry Hilton.
How was that for you? How were the jitters for you? I mean, this is the very first time you are in. Was this the very first time you had to open for a well-known comedian in South Africa? And how was that for you? How was that whole thing?
Yeah, in South Africa. No, this was my second time opening for a well-known comedian, but this was my first time performing for a comedian that I look up to. I say, wow, I've seen you. I've Googled you. You're on my phone. I have you at home. You see, and now you are here. You see, this is the first time I opened for, and I was starstruck. Yeah. I've opened for Aneka Nsime before, but Aneka Nsime was always like, oh, it's Aneka Nsime, okay. But Barry Hilton was what I wanted to be, what I've always wanted to be. He was right there. So I think this promoter called Tonga Mbizo is the guy that brought Aneka Nsime and did the biggest comedy show in Zimbabwe, like over 5,000 people at HICC, sold out, back then when I opened for Aneka Nsime. Wow. And then after that, he saw that my comedy is different. It's more global. It's like, if I get Long John to open for Barry Hilton, and if a white audience shows up, you do good. You'll be fine. Because he saw that I was trying to achieve that thing, that global. Because every comedian was talking about Suleiman Chimbetu, and Mighty Samba. People were doing that. But me, I was trying to make it more global, and I was struggling with that. And then he got me to open for Barry Hilton. And the first time Barry Hilton saw me performing, he's like, okay, listen, I want to help you. Come to South Africa. Just come to South Africa. You're going to open for me every time when I do a show in Johannesburg or anywhere, and you're there, you're going to open for me. You're my opener. And then that's it. The guy helped me perform in big stages, like lyric theater. I performed in lyric theater, opened for him. It was crazy. I performed everywhere with him. So It was amazing, man.
Wow, man. Listen, you could have never imagined this when you were in Chimanimani or Mutare. You couldn't have. And funny thing is, life is a way of rewarding people that have been doing the very same thing over and over again. Some people might actually call it stupidity. Like, they booed you yesterday.
The same thing. You remember? No, that's true, man. You keep doing it, man. The mind is a powerful thing.
Exactly.
If you keep giving the mind the same thing, it will adjust. Definitely adjust, and you see yourself becoming better and better and better. Because right now, when I look at my material, because I have a video of me at Book Cafe, I'm like, what the hell was that? I never finish it.
You like I would have booed this nigga if I was.
Yeah, I was like, boo. I was booing myself when I was watching it. No. Even my first one-man show, it was called The Longest Yard. It was an achievement. I don't want to lie. I learned a lot from it. But watching the whole show now,
Oh,
no,
no,
man, no,
no, man, that's not
no.
me.
I
That's not me.
deleted it from YouTube. I deleted it.
Bring it back. Bring it back, Baba. We want to
Nope.
see the differences. And I agree with you. From a creative point of view, like I do shows, or I've been on radio ever since like 2004. And sometimes when you listen to your show, you're like, yo, Baba,
Exactly.
no,
There's a
man.
lot of mistakes, eh?
There's a lot of mistakes and stuff like that. So sometimes it's a good thing to go through your work, and it sort of gives you that ability to change where you actually
Oh
know
yeah,
you're doing wrong.
exactly. That's true.
So what do you do? I mean, take us through the life of a comedian. Like, oh, oh,
Well,
I'm being honest. I'm being honest. I'm being because
well,
of
uh,
course, yes, you go into the shop and you're looking for bread and you think, okay, I can do a skit about this. Yeah, that's being spontaneous. That's being spontaneous, right? But the
mm,
majority of the time, when you're not writing jokes, what
well,
are you?
like I said, Pornhub. Okay, just joke. Uh, so people think comedy is a job. It's not. It is not a job, man. It's just a lifestyle, man. You have to. It's not a job, man. I'm not. I'm just being paid to be me. Just
Okay.
being me, man. Because when you finally treat comedy as a lifestyle, everything to you is comedy. You see. So every time when I'm in the shop, I'm like, oh, this is a joke, right? This is a joke. So most of the time, I'm not looking for jokes. They just come around me. I can just go anywhere, and then there's material there, or someone might say something, and I'm like, oh, that's funny. I'm gonna use that, and then my mind just
Starts.
makes it more funnier.
Okay.
So yeah, so most of the time I'm just chilled. I'm doing the things that you do. I'm watching Netflix. I'm walking. I'm taking the dog out. Whatever. I'm going on a date. I do
You
the
have a
same things
dog,
that you do.
dude. You have a dog.
Yeah, I do.
What? You have a
what
dog?
do you What do you mean? Yeah. Why
Like,
are you
like
surprised?
you literally take your dog out for a walk.
I'm white. Okay. Yeah, I think you need to understand. I'm white. I just look black. I'm just white in there. I do.
Is it?
So
What's
I
his
grew up
name?
with
What
dogs, man.
is his or her name?
His name is Willie. Not Sporty, not Borky, Willie.
Man, that's why you need to end
You
up in
see,
the US. I
and
mean,
my dog knows tricks. My dog knows tricks. He knows one trick for now. Do you want to know what the trick is?
what's the trick? What's the trick?
Foot tech. That's the trick for now. Foot tech and yeah.
So after what does it do?
Yeah?
After it does it I mean, does your dog say footsec, or you say footsec and it does?
No, I say foot tech and it just goes. It runs. It goes away. That's the trick.
Okay.
That is the trick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I forgot what we were talking about. I forgot. I totally
No.
forgot.
We're talking about what's your daily routine as a comedian.
Oh yeah. So most of the time as comedians, when there are gigs around and when things are normal, during the day you're at home. You're mostly sleeping or writing or researching or even watching Netflix, whatever. We have so much free time as comedians. But during the night, that's where you work. That's where you go to gigs. Sometimes you do 2-3 gigs a night, and you meet other comedians. You go out, you talk. So we are like witches. We work at night, and and
I
during the
see
day we
that.
sleep, man.
I see
Yeah, we
that.
sleep.
Yeah.
That's the routine. Every comedian does this. Anyway, you
Mm,
can be in America. During the
mm,
day, we sleep.
mm,
We're always at
mm.
home. But a traveling comedian is different. you
Okay.
know, because I've actually I've traveled a lot. A traveling comedian is always in a new place every time, you see, and you get used to, living out of a suitcase. You get used to be comfortable anyway.
Mm,
You
mm,
can be today. You can be in a 5-star hotel. Like when I was in Tanzania, I was in a 5-star hotel. It was amazing, man. Oh, it was so amazing that the people would, if you're eating, you don't even use your hands. They will do it for you. They were like, no, don't worry, sir. We will chew for you. Don't worry, we chew. Nom, 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 nom. It was amazing. And then tomorrow you are somewhere in the backpackers and it's filthy.
yeah.
You
And
see, stuff like that.
you've got a couple sleeping right next to you and they're humping.
Exactly. And then you see, and like, what is going on? So you get used to that, man. The up and downs and the so crazy. Sometimes promoters treat you bad. You
Mm,
perform, you kill, and they don't
mm.
pay you. Like, but why? Why? You see, so you get
That's
used to all of that. You know?
I love the experience that you gave about the backpackers. It just takes me back in 2010, during the World Cup. I met a very good friend of mine from Germany, and he's a journalist. So he was like, "Ah, what you doing?" And I'm like, chill, nothing, just trying to work in South Africa. And I was working in a restaurant. He's like, let's go. You be like my assistant in all of these things. So we traveled, we went to to Durban, Cape Town, Waterfront, you name it, all the stadiums. And I was getting in, I was having the greatest time of my life. And then, he was a really nice guy to the extent that he sought out this small little remuneration for me. So he talked to his editor and it's like, hey, I've got this guy and I need him to interpret for me at times, as a as an interpreter, when I'm talking to somebody who doesn't really know English or whatever, because there's so varying number of languages during the World Cup. So 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 the editor was like, okay, I can sort that out, but accommodation wise and stuff like that, since he's a local,
Oh my
I can't
God.
help you. He has to, so most of the times we'd put up in these backpackers lodges, and there was one in Durban during the World Cup. Imagine, we were like 10 in
Oh
the
yeah,
house.
that's cool, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And then there was a couple right next to us. I mean,
Humping.
dude,
Were they
I'm telling
humping?
you, they were humping.
Check it,
It's
check it, check it, check it, check it, check it, check it. What the hell?
and for the very first time as a Zimbabwean, that was like shocking to me. But then I
Oh yeah,
realized,
yeah, that's true.
yeah, and then I realized that you could be in this backpackers lodge for 5 days and you've got your wife with you. What do you do?
But come on. You can't. Because let me tell you something. If it was
So
me, I would turn on the
go for
lights and
you'd
I'll
go for
watch.
huh?
Yeah. Imagine if it was me and someone is humping, they're humping there. I
Uh,
would buy popcorn and watch just to make them feel
well,
uncomfortable. Just
obviously they were not
go,
humping
go.
in. Like, I mean, you could not see them. They were under the covers, John. They had to
Oh,
cover
but
themselves.
hey, I know, but that's not
You,
cool.
you could
That's not
tell,
cool.
you could see that these
No, but
actions are like, yeah.
but you go through stuff like that. You see when you.
Mm,
It's crazy, man. It's
crazy,
crazy.
man. I'm telling you, I'm telling you. I think for the longest in Zimbabwe, we have been we have not been telling our story as much as we
That's
want
true.
to
That's true.
tell it. And when I was going through the types of comedies that are there,
Mm.
the genres. A lot of people just think comedy is comedy, and then
That's true.
I sort of started to
Especially Zimbabweans. Zimbabweans just think if you make someone laugh, you're a comedian. That's why Mighty T and Madam Boss, they're called comedians. But are they though?
listen before you go there. I'm the one who's asking questions right here. And secondly,
Hey,
let me just say my point. Let me just
yeah.
say my
Okay.
point. The thing
Okay,
is
say
that
it.
okay, there are genres out there, ne? And
Mm.
you are described as a self-deprecation comedian, something like that.
And yeah,
or a
Yeah,
or a
part of it.
situational or a
Yeah.
situational
So
comedian, you know.
okay.
So
So
before you answer, I just wanted to say, because you say there are lots of types of comedy out there, without me having to research or to ask you, Long John, it would be very hard for a person who is doing finance or a person who is a chartered accountant to also know the terms and genres of comedians. So
yeah,
people like you have to be the ones that tell us or educate
yeah.
us. And I think for the
Well, okay.
wow, okay, yeah,
Well,
and I think and I think with you have to. It's like we know of Sungura because someone told us that there's a genre called Sungura, or someone
yeah.
told us that there's a genre called hip hop, or we are calling this rap music. And then they
Okay.
describe it to us, it's rhythm mixed with a little bit of poetry, and that's why we're calling it rap. So if you don't tell us, the majority of your people, especially from Chimani Mani and Mutari, are just going to call everybody a comedian.
Yeah. Okay. It's my turn now.
Yeah, it's your turn. You can speak.
Okay. Um, do you know how old comedy is? You know how old
I'm
it is.
guessing. I'm guessing it's very old.
It's a very old, thing. But now, the thing with comedy, it has evolved into a lot of other things. It has like become a lot of things. And do you think where it is like in UK and USA, do you think people that go to watch comedy, stand-up comedy, do you think they really know what a situational comedian is, whatever comedian is, a self-deprecating comedian is? Do you think they really know? Or they are
Mm.
fans of comedy?
Yeah, they're just fans of
See,
comedy. Yeah,
exactly. The beauty about comedy is it always comes together like this. I can be a one-liner comedian performing with a storyteller comedian. See what I'm saying? So
mm, mm,
comedy is kind of like it's one thing, but it can be split into other things. But you don't need to know all those other things. Just look at it as comedy. You see,
okay.
that's enough. As an audience, it's enough for you. But as comedians, it's our job to find what we are good at, or what
Mm,
our genre is. That's my
oh,
job. I know that I'm an observational comedian, situational comedian, physical comedian, and I'm still trying to discover myself. That's what I'm doing. I'm still trying to discover that, you know. So that's it. I know of these three, but if I ask my fans, what do you know? Do you know of any of these? They'll say no. I'm just a fan of Long John. Why?
I don't care. I
Because
don't care
he
what
moves
genre.
he does this thing when he performs, and I love it. You see, that's it. That's
Oh,
fine.
man, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Hey, John, thanks a lot once again. I always thank you because you know what? I know you said you sleep during the day, so you could have been sleeping right now.
Well, put up.
Yeah, Puna. Hey, you're going to you one day you wake up and that right hand of yours is broken, or it's not.
No, what are you talking about? Right? No, what? I have people that do it for me. What are you talking about?
Oh man, thanks a lot. So listen, I wanted to go through some of the pictures that you have online. I mean, I
Oh
think
no. Oh my
exactly,
God.
exactly. We had to go there. We had to go there, and
Yeah.
just sort of look at some of the. I don't know. I had a question when I was going through these pictures, and my question
Okay.
was,
Ah,
John, aninge audzwe here kunzi ita so kana kuti
just show me the photo, God. I'm
I'm sure
suspense.
I'm showing you, man. Relax, relax,
God.
relax.
Hey,
You understand? Is it something that okay?
just show me, God. Rip the bandage.
Let me show you the picture. Let me show you the picture
Okay.
because
Show me.
you know what? Let me show you. All right, all right. There I am. Okay, let me add that to the stream.
Technology.
All right, there you go.
Technology. Okay.
Uh,
I'm still waiting
technology.
for
There.
Ah! You see, that's what I was talking about. Physical comedian. I love
Good.
physical humor. This is me.
So they,
This is
so,
just
so
yeah.
they don't tell you what to do. You just like, okay, take my picture. I have to be like this.
Now, as soon as because my team takes these photos for me because we have equipment and stuff, so we do them ourselves. So my photographer just comes to me and says, "Okay, let's do a photo shoot," and I dress up whatever. He's like, "Okay," and then just what he does is click, click. That's it. That's what he does, and I'm
He's
just going
he's
in.
only making sure the
Ooh,
settings. Yeah.
yeah,
He's
that's it. The settings are fine. Me, I'm just there. That's me. I'm very good at physical and facial. I'm good at that. That's my area.
man. Okay. I'm telling you, you've got a wide array of pictures that are here online, and sometimes you cannot help but just
Yeah,
smile or laugh or laugh. So
that's good.
before I let you go,
Mm.
what's the hardest? I mean, what is the joke that people have laughed the hardest from you?
That's tough. That's a tough question, man. That's a tough question because
Where you felt like I hit that ball out of the park. If I'm ever
okay.
going to die today, people will remind
Ah!
me or remember me because of such and such a joke.
It was about my lazy eye actually. I
Okay.
never forget this day at Cape Town Comedy Club. So this is the joke. Um, I say, okay, so my girlfriend broke up with me because of my lazy eye. She was like, John, I know that you have a lazy eye, but I want you to look me straight in my eyes and tell me that you love me. And I was like, I, I, I love you. She's like, no, John, why was your other eye looking at this wall? I'm like, no, it's looking at you. She's like, I want you to prove it right now. Prove it that you are looking at me, or else I'm gonna walk away. And I was like, sweetie, I swear, my right eye was looking at you, and my left eye was looking for you. So, so she left because we didn't see eye to eye. If you know what I mean. That was the joke that I did. It
Oh
kept a comedy
man,
club. Yeah, people went bananas, man.
is it?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Could that be the very best place you've also performed in Cape Town, or there could
Yeah,
be a place?
definitely. For my own reasons, I have my own
Mm,
reasons why it's the best for me. Because what I've always like when I achieve, Cape Town Comedy Club is always mixed. It's a mixed audience. It's always
mm,
Americans, ever Australians, and it's a mixed audience. So if a local based comedian or his material is just local based goes and perform at Cape Town Comedy Club, they'll struggle. Because most of the people there, they don't understand the local references. So I always do amazing there. It's always amazing. People, every time I perform, people come to me, oh man, you're amazing, man. Your performance was
you're
amazing. This is
killing
the
it.
best.
You're killing it, man.
Because I've been working on that. I've been working on trying to make my material global, and I see it working. And I'm like, yeah, it's it right
Okay. Okay.
there.
Wow. Wow. Man, listen, I wish you all the best in your endeavors, and thank you very much for coming through.
Thank
Congratulations
you.
on this new show on Comedy Central.
Yeah, thank you so
Man,
much, man. I
man.
appreciate it. I appreciate it, man. Thank
Do
you
you
for
write
this.
jokes? Do you write jokes for people? Like if I tell you, like John, please write a joke about me, so that I can also just be a little bit popular.
Yeah, I write, but for people, I sometimes write for other comedians. Sometimes, if I'm
Okay.
helping
Okay.
out a comedian, I write something and I'm like, hey, this is funny
Mm,
for you.
mm,
And yeah, you
mm.
see.
Is
But
it?
if you want me to write a joke about you, do you want me to roast you? I'll roast the hell out of you.
Exactly. Exactly. Roast me. I just need.
Another
roast,
time, another time.
roast me a little bit. Work on it. No, no,
Ah,
no. Don't now. Work on it, ne? Work on it. When you're done, just just check it out
That
there. And,
definitely we'll do that. We'll do
like I mean, you
that.
wrote a joke about your grandfather. I know I can't be equated with your grandfather, but I can try. You can try something.
I'll try something. I'll research. I'll do my research.
Thanks a lot, John, for the
Yeah.
time, man. All
No,
the
it's all
best.
good, man.
Everything, Baba. All the best in
Thank you
everything.
so much, man.
2021
Appreciate it.
made me fire, fire, fire,
You never
fire.
know. That's
Yeah,
true.
it's gonna be. Have a great day.
All right, same to you, man. Bye
Okay,
bye.
bye. Wow, what an interesting conversation I just had with Long John. I think if you ask me right now about people that are just gonna be doing it for Zimbabwe in the next coming years or so, Long John is one of them. And I just have an idea. I just have this thing in my mind that he's gonna be one of those great people that we're gonna be celebrating in the not so distant future. And you can just go out there and watch out for this man um, because things have a funny way of building up into into big things. They have a funny way of building up into big things, and I believe that Long John is one of those people that we're going to be celebrating anytime from now. Okay, so go out there and check out Long John on of all of his social media platforms. Make sure you love and you continue to support Zimbabwean art. That's all we have to do in 2020. That's all we have to do, because if it doesn't happen with us our very own from our very own time and from our very own people, and for our very own people, who is going to support them? Who else is going to support them? So that's the thing. We have to start. It has to start with us, and then we move on from there. Until we meet again, it's Joe Mars signing out. And do follow us on all of our social media platforms as well, on the Joe Mars podcast, so you can catch some more of this great, great interviews. Bye.